third. The third. Hi and welcome to another edition of OnSide SA, and it's really counting down now for the last one standing. It's I think 4 left, Budge.
4. Well, one's gone through. Greg went out last night, and there's 3 tonight.
So that leaves.
Well, there's 4. Four.
So, but the point I'm making is, after tonight's games, they might just so they all go through.
Yeah, there's
only
4.
2 games
Maximum
left.
4.
2 games left.
Yeah. Well, the teams they've got, Paul, it's week 12. They haven't
Okay,
really got many.
Unfortunately, my good mate and fellow director Greg Petzer, a Man United stalwart, went out.
Yeah,
And he went
Paul,
out
they should have been
Leicester.
3-0 up with Leicester. They should have been 3-0 up at half time. Second half, don't know what happened.
And then, as you say, last night, jeez, how stiff was Greg Veal? South the Wolves winning in the 93rd minute.
I watched the whole of the Preston game against Brentford. That was the second half that I watched. It was a tight game, but when Wolves scored, I thought, well, this is
Game
it.
over, yeah.
And Paul, that penalty for me wasn't a penalty. The guy's trying to bicycle kick. You're trying to.
Yes, get your head out the way.
I don't think that should be a ham. He did handball it.
But how many times in the last month have we had VAR decisions that are wrong?
Yeah.
The only ones that are getting right are offsides.
Yeah, well, then there's no excuse with offsides.
Because you've got a line, you draw it, But sometimes his ears past his shoelace, it's just still. But anyway, the only one who's through as we talk is Vivian Woodley.
Yeah, Vivian was on Tottenham. He works for Gary Green, our mate. Yeah.
Decoy Doug.
Yeah. So he's a big Liverpool fan.
So those of you who just want to know who's still in it, the guys tonight, Everton play against Aston Villa, and they've got Julian Nadu and Rion Diaga. You know the boys?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got, is it Alan Kruger?
Alan Kruger, yeah.
Southampton versus Brighton.
Yeah, he's one of Mark Curry's troops, yeah.
Oh, is he a top half-felt man?
Yeah.
And then that's 1, 2, 3.
That's it,
That's
Paul.
it. Ooh.
Pressure's on, Paul.
If Everton draw or lose and Southampton win, then it's straight between Vivian Woodley and Alan Kruger.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Keep it going, lads. It's always interesting. This is the longest it's ever gone.
Paul, 12 is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Paul. Worldwide, you don't get 12.
No,
you get 7.
7's the average.
7's the average. These guys are going well done, well selected, guys. Right, this bunch. Stevie B in the office.
He is. Good morning.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
Very well, thank you both.
Yeah. Before we start and knock on the weekend's results, I sat and watched the Burnley game. It was an important game. I just thought, this is from Washington home, that your guys didn't attack enough.
And it was the Fulham game, Steve, against West Brom. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. We are, without making excuses, we've got 1 or 2 out injured. We were carrying 1 or 2 with slight knocks. Ultimately, we are now guaranteed 4th place. I don't think we were ever going to get automatic promotion, even had we have won on Tuesday. We'd still been behind Brentford with them winning last night. So I think it's more now about sort of making sure he gets the squad fit, ready for the playoff games, which start in 2 weeks. Yeah. So they could have gone for it a bit more, but then West Brom were pretty cagey themselves, particularly in the first half, because for West Brom, they knew that 7 points would be enough, and this was their hardest of their 3 games on paper. So I think, we have sort of looked like we've got a bit leggy in 1 or 2 games at the end. Defensively, we can't fault it. We've conceded 1 goal in 5 games. I think going into the playoffs, although we're not scoring freely, I think having that defence look solid, I think, is just as important.
Okie dokie. And so just while we're talking about the championship, Steve, just want to get this right, and Budge, basically 2 spots for 3 teams now.
Well,
Brentford stayed in, hey?
Yeah.
Brentford is still there.
Brentford are still there, and in fact they're waiting now. It's very much in Leeds' hands. So Leeds need 4 points from 3 games, and they play tonight at home to Barnsley. If they win that, and one would expect them to, then they just need 1 point from the remaining 2 games, and I just can't see them slipping up. West Brom know what they have to do. West Brom, 2 wins from their last 2 games, they get 2nd place. If they slip up, then Brentford can catch them.
Okay,
so
pretty clear cut.
It is pretty exciting at the top, and then behind that, with the playoff places, you can sort of perm that 6th place is very much up for grabs still.
Okie dokie. Budge?
Steve, did you watch the Chelsea-Norwich game on Tuesday?
I did. It was pretty sort of lacklustre, really. I mean, Chelsea probably did have to win by more, but Norwich. I feel for Norwich. I mean, they're trying hard, but they just can't. They can't buy a goal. They can't get a point. I mean, they've been pretty well. I mean, Daniel Farke, knew, I think, from after the first game when they were walloped at home that they were going to go down. And he's trying different formations. I think for them, it's all about trying to keep players. And they pretty much made it known that they won't entertain anything less than £20 million a head for any of their young players. And I suspect one or two will go. Yeah. So Chelsea just did, look, for Chelsea, it's all about getting results. Sets it up nicely now for those last couple of games. Obviously, United have got 3 games, Chelsea 2, Leicester 3. You can still perm any 2 from 3 to finish in those top third and fourth place.
Steve, just before we talk about those top places, I was just watching television and I saw some of the comments that came out from the senior managers after Man City were allowed to stay in the tournament. Now, I know Jose Mourinho had said, if Man City is right, something along the lines, then it's a great decision. But if they're wrong and it's fair play, what is it, fair? Yeah. Then it's the worst decision.
Yeah, I mean, what he sort of said was that if they were not guilty, why did they get a fine?
Correct.
So when I sort of looked at the wording of the report,
yes,
they used the term. They said there wasn't enough conclusive evidence. So they didn't say there was no evidence. They just said there was not enough conclusive evidence.
So
and then there's some of the points they said, well, actually the offence was more than 5 years ago, and there was a 5-year time limit on which the case could be brought. So ultimately it puts financial fair play, the rules, under the spotlight, because other clubs might look and say, well, actually, if City have done this, why not us? I think they tightened the rules. Remember, this is an offence that went back to 2014, and they tightened the rules since. So, look, it's a huge result for City. I mean, not only financially, it would have cost them a lot of money not being in the Champions League, but, they may have lost 1 or 2 players. They certainly would have found it harder to recruit. And I think now one would expect them to go out in the summer and buy 1 or 2 big-name players, certainly defenders. I think they know that they need to tighten that defence up. So,
Steve, one last question on the subject. Yeah. What was your opinion?
Look, at the end of the day, I think financial fair play has been, the rules have been flouted for a number of years. The fact that they dressed up, putting the huge amounts of money in a sponsorship, ultimately, and this is the problem. You've got owners with a bottomless pit, and they want to buy success. And they probably think, well, other teams did it sort of earlier. Abramovich did. So, it does make it, when you look at the other side, you think, look, smaller clubs, and Leicester showed that it can be done, but, the chances now of small club coming through and sort of dominating like the big teams with huge money reserves, you just think it can't happen. But, no, I think it was...
Okay, so they've flouted the rules, so they've set a precedent now. It's just not good.
That's the problem now. So, and teams... Whether teams would, obviously go out and flout them, but they might think, well, actually, they pushed the boundaries a bit and see what happens. So,
I think it's a bad call. You look at Atletico Madrid, 7 players they lost last year. Other than Real Madrid and Barca, they can buy. Every other team in Spain has to sell players. You look in Germany, every team has to sell players. Man City sell no one. They can't fill their stadiums. They give tickets away. I think it's a joke. And I agree with Mourinho. You can't find somebody 10 million and say you're not guilty.
Yeah.
But
and to be honest, 10 million, in the grand scheme of things, to City is nothing.
No, they're billionaires. What's 10 million?
That's right. It's not even.
It's like a loaf of bread.
It's 10% of the next purchase.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Wednesday's results, Butch.
Yeah. Did you see the penalty in the Wolves-Burnley game?
I did. I saw the highlights afterwards. I mean, I thought Wolves, when I looked at the stats, and the Wolves looked as if they had that game completely sewn up. So I think they'll feel aggrieved. And Burnley, it shows that Sean Dyche's team never give up, but Burnley were looked as if they were well beaten. So I think Wolves will be disappointed. Obviously, they were, after that big result at the weekend against Everton, I think they were thinking, well, another win on the road here, and they're pushing again. But,
Steve,
they don't give up.
Steve, you're a bigger fence sitter than McDermott here. What was your call? Was it a penalty or no penalty? Yes or no?
to me, I didn't think it was a penalty, but these are the rules now, and if it hits the hand, it hits the hand.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was never a penalty. You're going to evade it. Someone's putting a six stud right next to your face. You pull your face out of the way, your hand comes up naturally. But I agree with you, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, Tottenham, have they turned the corner under the special one?
It looks as if they are, and it's in their own hands now, sort of a European place by the looks of it. It was a good win last night. Obviously, they had a big derby win against the Arsenal, and now you think they've got Leicester coming up at home, which is a big game for both teams. Yeah. I think they just they started slowly, Tottenham, but they've got into their rhythm a bit now. I mean, I think after that Sheffield United defeat, I think they've turned the corner a little bit. So I think Tottenham looking good for that European place.
I've got a bit of stats. I'm a Spurs supporter. I don't know if anyone's told you. But the Premier League since Jose joined them on November the 23rd, it was sent to me this morning. Liverpool,
must be
59 points. Man City, 50. Man United, 43. Tottenham, 41. Wolves, 40. That's not bad. They're quick to bury him. I think he's negative, but his stats always seem to pile up at the end of the day, or stack up.
Yeah, well, I think the last few results have obviously helped there after a sort of a disappointing sort of restart. But he's got his players fit. He's got we've got Son and Kane playing together. They're gonna score goals, and Harry Kane, some critics seem to keep writing off, has come back strongly with a couple last night. So I think they want to finish strongly. I think if they can get minimum 4 points from the last two games, maybe even more, then they've got a good chance then of cementing that European place.
Steve, as far as the top six, can Spurs get in the top six?
It's going to be close. I mean, it's
got to beat
they're
Leicester.
Not far off.
Yeah,
they can do. I mean, it's depends. Obviously, you've got Sheffield United hanging on there and Wolves, but I think Tottenham will give it a go. They've got nothing to lose now. So why not? I think that Tottenham Leicester will be a cracking game. Especially if Leicester, it depends because they play Sheffield United tonight.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to play for. Sort of underneath the top two, who obviously Liverpool switched off a bit, City switched off a little bit last night. I think behind them, there is a lot to play for, and those are the games that are more exciting.
Steve, talking about City, the FA Cup on Saturday, they play Arsenal. Too good again?
Two teams on form.
Yeah, I think so, but you'd expect, like City, you looked at their starting lineup last night. They rested Mahrez, they rested Sterling, they rested De Bruyne. So he's got his eye on the cups, and it looked like it a little bit. They were, a little bit stop-start last night. They had the game won easily and then took their foot off the gas. So I think they'll be too strong for Arsenal. But Arsenal have been giving it a go recently. I mean, they rode their luck a little bit against Liverpool, but they dug deep and hung on in there with it. Got a good result. But I think City like the FA Cup and puts out his strongest team, I think, the weekend.
Man United against Chelsea. How do you see that going?
Yeah, that'd be a good game. I think United,
I
think, would be a little bit too strong. But again, they've just got to, they're a little bit complacent at the end against Southampton. I think they thought that they had that game won.
Yeah.
Chelsea defensively have been a bit hit and miss for me. I mean, they were shocking at Sheffield United. I think if United play he puts his strongest team out and they go for it, I think United will be too strong.
Let's hope you're right. Steve, on to the Premiership. There aren't many games over the weekend because of the 4 teams involved in the FA Cup. You see Burnley rolling over Norwich?
Well, this is sort of the last chance really in a way for Norwich to salvage something. I mean, they haven't picked up a single point since the restart.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be at all surprised. I mean, Burnley, they showed in the game at Liverpool. I mean, they make themselves hard to beat. I think Burnley could probably just edge that. I feel you'd like to think maybe Norwich could end the season with something, but in their last home game. But I just think Burnley might be too strong.
Okay, a big game on the South Coast. Bournemouth against Southampton.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Southampton in recent matches.
Yeah,
considering they're safe, but he's got them playing well, and they dug deep and they played very well at Old Trafford. They were never out of the game. I'm not totally convinced by Bournemouth. I mean, they got those late goals against Leicester, but Leicester, imploded effectively, and they had a go at City, but City took their foot off the gas. I think I can't see Bournemouth winning that, and if they don't, I think they're pretty much down.
Yeah, Mentioning Leicester, can they go to Tottenham and get a victory?
Look, they can do. We know they're good enough. But, if you look at the way that they played in the second half against Bournemouth, I mean, once they gave that stupid goal away, I mean, they just completely, as I said, imploded, and you just couldn't believe that. It's going to be interesting because they play tonight. They have a tough game against Sheffield United tonight. Yeah. I think Tottenham will be there waiting for them, and it wouldn't surprise me if Tottenham edged that.
Let's hope you're right there. Steve, Soyuncu is suspended for the next 3 games. I read that. Is that right? The Leicester centre-half?
Soyuncu.
Yes, yeah. I think he got a red card for lashing out. So, that's him sort of missing for the season, effectively.
Steve, on to the championship. As I sent you the email, we have changed it because the team's going for automatic promotion. West Brom kick it off on Friday at Huddersfield. Do you see them winning?
Well, on paper you'd expect them to, but Huddersfield need to get something possibly out of that game because, at the moment when you look at the bottom of the table, it looks like it's any 3 from 5, and Huddersfield are one of those 5. So, Huddersfield lose that, and West Brom have to win, because they can't afford to slip up. I think there's a lot to play for there. Yeah. I think West Brom will get it, but they've got to be brave. I mean, a point doesn't help West Brom, so they've got to go for it. They've got the firepower. They've got sufficient players in their squad to win that game. But Huddersfield, know that a defeat, and it could be out of their hands. So I'm going to go for a West Brom win, but I think it could be tighter than you think.
Okay, a team that's won 8 in a spin is Brentford. Do you think they'll beat Stoke?
Well, again, Stoke are just above those bottom 5. They may be safe with 50, but they need 1 more point, with goal difference to be safe. And they were good last time out at home. Yeah. I think, depending on what West Brom do, if West Brom win, Brentford have to win. So nothing else, they'll go for it, and they've got the firepower. So I think Brentford probably will be too strong for Stoke, but I don't think Stoke will roll over.
Yeah, now your boys Fulham, I know you're a bit concerned about the injuries.
Fulham.
How do you see it going against Sheffield Wednesday?
I mean, look, Sheffield Wednesday got nothing to play for now. Yeah. I think that he'll put out a strong team, but I'm not sure that. I think that depending on what happens, he might take 1 or 2 off and save them, because we just can't afford any more injuries. And Harry Arter picked up a knock. He didn't bring him on the other day. We don't want to lose any key players, but I think he'll put a strong team out, because I think it's important that we finish strongly. And I think he'll be very pleased if we can keep a clean sheet.
Okay, now 2 teams that seem to have turned the corner. Middlesbrough at home to Cardiff City. How do you see that one?
Yeah, well, Middlesbrough, they picked up a couple of big wins for Steve McLaren, and I think they now, sorry for Neil Warnock, they just need 1 point pretty much to be safe. Yeah. Cardiff, on the other hand, can't afford to slip up, because they've got Swansea and Millwall breathing down their neck. So I think it'll be a good game. I think I can see Middlesbrough holding Cardiff. But Cardiff can't afford to lose that.
Okay, and last but not least, on Sunday, Derby hosting Leeds. Is it payback from Leeds for Derby sticking them out of the relegation?
Yeah, I think that on the assumption that Leeds will win tonight at home to Barnsley, they will only need a point for promotion, and I think they'll get it. Derby have been pretty poor in recent weeks. They looked as if they were flirting with the playoff place, but they've fallen away, and you just think, unless the pressure really gets to Leeds, I can see Leeds winning that and clinching promotion.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Steve, pressure time again. You were on the spot with Fulham last week. Who's your best bet?
I'm going to go for Sheffield United. I think that they've, I'm really impressed with how they played against Chelsea. Okay. Obviously they played tonight. I'm sure they'll make it a hard game, and Chris Wilder wants his team to finish strongly. So
you think they'll beat Everton on Monday?
I thought were really poor at Wolves, and we'll see how they go against Villa tonight. But I think Sheffield United will go for it. I think they want to try and get one of those top European places.
That's fair enough. And your value bet?
I'm going to go for Southampton. I think 2-1. I just like the way they've been playing. They gave United a scare, and I don't think they'll be frightened to go to Bournemouth and have a go.
Yeah, Steve, couldn't agree more about Southampton now, also Sheffield United. But Steve, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll speak to you next week. All the best.
All right.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There we go. Steve Ibrahim. He's in the studio in London. Budge, to quickly touch on the FA Cup semi-finals, I want your opinions here. He seems to think Man City will send out the right side.
Yeah, Paulie's got nothing else to play for. He's got to get this preparation for the Champions League. They're a terrible draw, but they should beat Arsenal. You know, watching Arsenal last night, he rested players too.
Yeah.
I just think City have the cutting edge in the final third, Paul.
Okay, so and then Man United are red hot and Chelsea are getting wins. And
Paul, it just depends on what happens tonight, you know, because
who plays tonight?
You know, United play Crystal Palace away, and once Fernandes and Pogba came off, the game changed on Monday night.
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully, I think Solskjaer's more interested in top four than the FA Cup. I know he wants to win something, but I think we're concentrating on tonight than the FA Cup on Sunday. Maybe I'm wrong. I got a funny feeling Chelsea are going to edge it, Paul. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, but
sure.
Man City, Chelsea.
Let's go have a look at these Premier League games, Budge. A lot of teams fighting at the bottom. It's going to be tough. So a game like West Ham, Watford is
Paul,
a
they're both in the
up.
mix. Of the two teams, I like the way West Ham have been playing lately.
Very well, very well.
Watford, they sneaked in last week. I watched the second half against Newcastle.
Troy Deeney.
Yeah, 2 penalties. The second one was an absolute joke. The fullback got caught, he fouled him. You could see Steve Bruce foaming at the mouth. You know, Paul, this will be a tight game, obviously. A point each would suit them in the relegation. But of the two teams, I like West Ham.
Norwich are gone. Burnley are doing
Burnley
well.
13-10. I watched the second half last night against Wolves. They're dangerous, Paul.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
Yeah, they're good from set pieces. 13-10. They're my best bet of the weekend, Paul.
Okay.
Burnley 13-10.
Okay, how about
Bournemouth, Southampton?
They haven't. I watched them play last night against Man City.
Yeah.
They created chances.
Yeah.
I know Man City are taking a few players off.
Yeah, but they have got good attacking players, Paul. They're forced to go.
They could have got 5 goals.
Yeah, I agree with Steve. I've been impressed with Southampton. They play Brighton at home tonight. Yeah, the way their style, they're going to get tight. I think he'll change it. I like Southampton. They're my best value bet, 2-1. The goals, I think 7-10, over 2.5 goals, Paul. I think that's a formality. They both have a go. Bournemouth can't defend. They've got to go for it. I think there's plenty of goals in that game. I like Southampton.
Tottenham-Leicester is obviously both teams fighting for it.
Paul, I like Tottenham. I just think Mourinho, if he just shuts up with the press. He can't. They bait him and he takes it. Big game for Leicester tonight. If they don't get a result at home against Sheffield United, they're under
I'd
pressure.
rather they won tonight and made it
I don't want them to win tonight. I think it could be a draw. But I like Tottenham with the two teams, Paul, even though I don't trust them.
Yeah. Brighton against Newcastle.
Paul, I like Newcastle to get a result, but they had a few injuries last night. Haven't been impressed lately with Brighton.
There's a very good player, Saint Maxim.
He got injured last night, had a calf injury.
Sure, he can play.
He
was waltzing past us.
If they've got their full team, I don't see them getting beat, but injuries are the problem for Steve Bruce's side. But I haven't been impressed with Brighton. They've lost their last 3 at home. Other than the game prior to that, they beat Arsenal late on. They should be safe, Paul, but wouldn't surprise me if that ends in a draw.
Then I was listening on this morning to the Everton boss, is it Ancelotti?
Yeah.
He is saying it's just not good enough. I think they've lost the last 3. He said it's not in the Everton DNA to go down like us at a fight. We're expecting a massive game against Sheffield United.
Well, Paul, they play Aston Villa tonight at home. They're unbeaten in 10 at home. So I think they'll beat Aston Villa. I'm not impressed with them. But Sheffield United, nobody fights harder than them. They've won the last 4 at home. They beat Spurs there, they beat Wolves there, they beat Everton there. He's got them. They're back to what they were, Paul. 13-10. It's just you never know with Everton, but I agree with Steve. Sheffield United, 13-10.
Okay, Wolves at home to Palace.
Should be, Paul. Palace, well, we'll see. Palace have lost 5 in a row, the last 3 away from home. You never know with Wolves. But
they were stiff not to draw the other day, Palace. She free hit the post. Okay, let's go to the Championship, Budge. You know more about this than me, but we spoke about Huddersfield Town having to fight, but West Brom were fighting.
Paul, I haven't been impressed with West Brom for a while. I watched them get a result, and they beat
Charlie
up front.
They got the Welsh striker who came on.
He's scored against Belgium in the Euros.
That's
they should win, Paul. Defensively, they're very sound, West Brom. And they've got to have a go. He played one up front against Fulham. I couldn't believe it. At home. But 8-10, Paul, I think they'll beat Huddersfield.
Okay. Charlton Athletic.
Well, this is a funny game.
They conceded a goal late, didn't they?
Wigan have lost a lot, going to lose 12 points. Their last 11 league games have kept 10 clean sheets, Wigan. They're one of the form teams in the Championship, but obviously the 12-point deduction puts them in the relegation places. Charlton, they've been stiff. I watched them get beat 1-0 at home by, I think it was Millwall. Lee Boyer's got them organised. Of the two teams, Paul, I like Wigan, but they draw a big player.
Stoke City, Brentford.
Well, you've got to go with Brentford.
Got to go with Brentford.
My boys Preston outplayed them yesterday by the first 15 minutes. Preston played great. But Stoke, I watched them on Sunday beat Birmingham. I'm sure there's a guy up front, his name's Jerice Campbell. I think it's Kevin Campbell, the Arsenal player. His son plays up front, left-footed player. He's dangerous, Paul. There'll be goals in this game.
Okay. Rovers Reading?
I like Blackburn at home, Paul. But end of the season game, you just never know. Reading got beaten midweek.
14,
they won the last 2 away from home, Reading. I think both teams to score the right play in that game, Paul.
Fulham, will they win?
Paul, I watched them the other day. As I said, they're really disappointed. I thought, have a go. Scott Parker hasn't really impressed me, but he's preparing for the playoffs.
He
so
might
let's
get them
see.
up.
I hope they come up for Steve. Sheffield Wednesday, 1 or 2 good results, and they drew at home. Should be Fulham all day, but you never know what he's going to do with the team selections, both with nothing to play. So obviously I've thrown a draw into our bets. Otherwise, Fulham would be good things.
Hull City, Luton.
Paul, Hull City got beat 8-0 by Wigan on Tuesday. Luton have only lost 1 of the last 4, Paul. I think of the 2 teams, the draw's the player, but I like Luton of the 2.
Middlesbrough.
Paul, this should be a humdinger.
Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock's team, he's got them. I think they've won 4 and lost 3 of the last 7. They can't win at home. That's the problem. That's why they're in trouble. I watched Cardiff against Fulham. They played well, Paul.
Yeah.
Of the 2, draw a player a game, but Cardiff of the 2 teams for me.
Your North End?
Paul, if you play like we did last night, we'll murder Birmingham. Birmingham equalised in the last minute. I like what I saw from Preston, Paul. It's like our earlier form. I think we'll win 9-10. Good things.
London Derby, QPR Millwall?
It's got to be Millwall, Paul. We went for QPR last week, and I was on one of the sites, and the fans were going berserk. How are we going to score with this team?
Yeah.
So they drew in midweek. Millwall all day, Paul. They're 7th, Millwall. They're just behind the playoff places. They've got to go for it. 12-10 for me.
Swansea City, Bristol City.
Funny game. Swansea at home don't do too well. Bristol City, since they fired the manager, they've won 2 and drawn 1. It's all 3 in the exotics, Paul, but I think Bristol City can upset them.
Derby County?
Paul, that was a team I took 9-1 to get the playoff place. I've watched them
11th.
twice. They are rubbish.
Yeah.
Bar Rooney, they play this Dutch football, tiki-taka. They get caught. The 2 goals they conceded against Cardiff. At the back, trying to play out, got caught. If Leeds are on their game, Paul, which I think they will, because they got to the playoff semi-final last year, Leeds won 2-1 away, and Derby came to Ellen Road and beat them. So I think it's payback, 8-10, Paul. Good things.
And then Barnsley, Notts Forest.
Paul, I just don't know about Notts Forest. I heard the guy this morning, they're in the playoffs. He's going to rest his players for the playoffs. So Barnsley are struggling. They play Leeds tonight, and they're desperate. Wouldn't surprise me if there's an upset, Paul. That's one game on Sunday I wouldn't go for.
Okay, the question I've got to ask you is obviously the soccer pools now. But how did we go with that 10?
We got 9, Paul. Liverpool.
Okay, but is there interest there?
Yeah, it will come, Paul.
Will come. All right, let's talk about these 6s then. But tell me what you're thinking.
There's 2 soccer 6s, one Saturday, one Sunday. We kick off, obviously, it's on Saturday, mainly championship games. I've gone Blackburn, win and draw at home against Reading. I've gone Fulham, thrown the draw in against Sheffield Wednesday, so it's Fulham in the draw. I've gone the field in the Hull City, Luton Town game. Likewise, the Swansea City versus Bristol City fixture. I fancy Burnley to beat Norwich, and I just think Man City will be too good for Arsenal, Paul, 2-1-6.
Okay.
This is a Sunday one. The other games are all joke games. But I've gone Southampton. I don't see them losing at Bournemouth. I bank it Leeds to beat Derby. I've gone the field looking for the upset in the Barnsley Notts Forest game. Spurs win and draw at home against Leicester, even though I hope Tottenham win for our bet. I've gone the field in the United-Chelsea game, and I think Real Madrid, as long as the league's not wrapped up tonight, will beat Leganes 2-1-6.
Okay, the bigger one.
Soccer 10, I've gone Blackburn Rovers win and draw at home against Reading. I've gone Fulham win and draw at home against Sheffield Wednesday. I don't see Luton losing at Hull City. Likewise, I don't see Cardiff City losing at Middlesbrough. I've banked Preston North End to beat Birmingham. Second page, I'm banking Millwall to win at Queen's Park Rangers. I've gone the field in the Swansea City Bristol City match. Likewise, the Yeovil Town Barnet playoff game. I've banked Man City to beat Norwich City. I banked Burnley to beat Norwich and Man City to beat Arsenal, 288.
Okay, Budge, my favourite page.
Soccer's 13, Paul, really tricky,
you
but we've got to go for it. Banker Man City to beat Arsenal. Likewise, Burnley to beat Norwich. I think Fulham got to take a chance, Paul. We had to find more bankers, so I banked Fulham to beat Sheffield Wednesday. I've sided with Luton Town, win and draw at Hull City. Likewise, Cardiff City, win and draw at Middlesbrough. I've banked my boys Preston North End to beat Birmingham City, and I've gone the field in the Swansea City Bristol City game. QPR, I've gone Millwall to beat them, banking Millwall. I've gone Blackburn Rovers, win and draw at home against Reading. I've gone the field in the FA Cup semi-final, United versus Chelsea. Taking a chance, I've banked Southampton to beat Bournemouth. I've gone Tottenham, win and draw at home against Leicester. And banked Leeds to get the promotion bid, 288.
All right, Budge, here we go.
Yeah, on to Budgie's bets for the weekend. Yeah, I've gone Burnley to beat Norwich and over 1.5 goals. I've gone Southampton to beat Bournemouth and over 2.5 goals. I can't see how there can't be goals in there. And I took a chance. I've gone Newcastle United to win or draw at Brighton. I think that game's destined. Yeah, it's a good price, 22 to 1. Yeah. On to the Championship. I've gone Leeds United to beat Derby. I've gone Millwall to beat QPR, and I've gone Preston to beat Birmingham, and both teams to score. That's one thing Birmingham can do, is score. Yeah. So I think my boys will win easily. So 2,600 to 200.
Okay.
Both teams to score sides are West Ham, Watford, Arsenal, Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester, and Blackburn, Reading. 3,300 to 200. Our team only goals, Paul.
What do you mean by this?
Okay, that Burnley, Tottenham, and Southampton all have to score over 1.5 goals. They've all got to score 2 goals.
Burnley, Tottenham, Southampton,
and then I've gone Arsenal to score against Man City. They were like 6.5 to 10 to score against Man City. I think they'll score.
Okay, so that's a good one.
3.5. Yes, I like that bet.
Yeah,
3,500 to 200. Good odds, worth an interest. The Spanish there's no betting out because they play tonight, so I had to change tactics. So I've gone in the Serie A. I've gone Atalanta to win at Hellas Verona, and AC Milan to beat Bologna at home, and over 2.5 total goals in each game. Atalanta, Paul, are one of the best teams in Europe at the moment. Them and Bayern Munich are the form teams, and I've gone Juventus to beat Lazio, and both teams to score.
Juventus get in front nowadays.
3-all. They're 2-0 up, 2-all. They drew 3-all last night. So they're conceding, which they never do. But Lazio was struggling, so I think they'll beat them, Paul. That's why I went both teams to score.
Okay, let's go Collis King.
And Collis King 6 or next. I've gone Burnley to beat Norwich, Man City to beat Arsenal. I've gone Wolves to beat Crystal Palace on Monday. I've gone West Brom to beat Huddersfield on Friday. I've gone Millwall to beat QPR and Atalanta to beat Hellas Verona, Paul. 25 to 1. And I think only one team's over even money, so multiplied quickly, 5,000 to 200.
Excellent, Budge. That looks very interesting for this weekend. A lot of football coming up. There's football tonight, and the guys that are in the last one standing are in the scrum tonight. So,
we'll
next week,
tomorrow.
We might have a winner next week.
Could have a winner tonight, Paul.
Yeah, that's true. It's very, very true. Well done to all of you, and until next time, stay on side.